Hello and welcome to another DanOCan.com road trip video. Mabel and I are on our own today because Emily has to work. So we're going to do a little road trip. Now, my general goal is to head towards Rowley because when you have no other ideas, heading towards Rowley never fails to take you on an interesting route or gives you the chance to see something maybe you haven't seen before. But I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. Come along. Roll the opening, Mabel. So welcome to downtown Craigdu, Alberta. Craigdhu. What I'm doing on this video, I promised you I was going to do something a little bit different, and that was I am going to work my way towards Rowley, but I am only going to navigate going place to place looking for parts on the map or towns on the map that I have never been to before or that I haven't revisited for quite some time. So Craigdu shows on the map as a little dot and a town. Looks like there's nothing really here. There's a Hutterite colony, the Tashetter colony. So that's kind of cool. No real old buildings or anything that I noticed, but it's kind of neat just to be somewhere I have not gone before. So now that we've checked out everything that's here, we're going to go to the next spot on the map, which is Bircham. It says it's about 25 minutes away or so, I think. So I won't bore you with a whole bunch of driving. Mabel and I are going to hit the road and put some more gravel under these tires. We'll see you at the next stop. Okay, well, the wind is not too bad, so I can kind of get out of the car. Well, there comes the breeze. That'll probably ruin the audio, so I'll probably end up voice-overing most of this because of the wind, but this is Bircham, Alberta. Looks like a cluster of houses or farms down there, so I'm not going to drive down there. There's nothing that says it's a private road, but it doesn't look like there's anything there, so there's no point in going in and disturbing those people. And there looks like there was a rail siding here, but based upon how the weeds have overgrown on the tracks there and the color of the rails indicating they're pretty rusty, I don't think it gets used much. So not sure if Bircham really was much of a town at any point, or if it was just a rail siding and maybe a water tower back in the steam days. But that's why we're doing this. It's to check out these places and see what's actually there, because they all have a story to tell, just some of the stories are shorter than others. Let's get on to the next place. Okay, we have made it to Conway, Alberta. And as you can tell, Mabel's getting a little anxious and really wants to start getting out of the car at some of these places, but there really isn't a lot here either. And just to be clear, I don't mean nothing here as any sort of an insult. A, that's kind of what I was expecting at most of these places, and B, I really just wanted to get out and see some different things. So just being out in the country is reward. I don't actually need to find some undiscovered gem of a ghost town to have a good day here. Probably the most interesting thing here is this farm, says the North Cuts, and they have an old railway signal at, thanks Mabel, they have an old railway signal at the entrance to their farmyard. So that to me is pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that means we would be best of friends, because if I had it, I would also have an old railway signal on my driveway. So as Mabel gets more and more restless, we are going to head north another 3 minutes to a location on the map that says it is Bargrave, Alberta. Okay, so we are at Bargrave. There's not a lot here either, a cluster of farms, but I did pass what looked to be an old railway bed that's been abandoned just a bit south of here, so I'm going to turn around and go check that out instead. noticed between the last two stops is we're starting to see a real change in the landscape. Things are starting to become a little more, or there are a lot more rolling hills. It's not nearly as flat. So it's kind of fun to see the topography change as we go along our trip here. I don't know if the camera will have picked that up, but we're not too far off an active rail line because I can still hear the horn of a train just off in the distance. But like I said, I wanted to come back and explore, or at least look at, this abandoned rail line. I let Mabel out of the car here, so she's kind of yanking on me, so expect a little camera shake here and there. So again, I apologize for the wind. It's not as easy to tell looking here to the north that this was a rail line, but if I spin us around and look down this direction, you can clearly see that this was an old rail bed at one point. Been abandoned obviously for quite some time. I'm not sure which subdivision or track this would have been, but yeah, the old rail line here. I noticed it when I was coming along that road that you see there by the power poles, and decided I would stop and check it out because there's something about old abandoned rail lines that always catch my attention. So as we work our way, continuing to work our way northeast here, our next stop is going to be Swalwell. Now, come on Mabel, hop in. Swalwell is a town I have visited multiple times in the past, but it's always worth another return visit. Home of the Mud Hens, you know, you'll see that in a second likely. And I'm also going to swing by the Swalwell Dam campground on our way over there, just to see how many people are camping here on the Easter long weekend. So that's next. Okay, so I lied. I made a little detour on my way to Swalwell Dam. Sorry, I'm going to cut that. Okay, so I lied. I made a little detour on the way to Swalwell Dam to find a geocache. It was only 3 kilometers out of the road, or it was only 3 kilometers out of the way, and it looked like it was on a neat little spot here where there's kind of a neat junction of a couple roads and a creek crossing. So it was like, that's got to be worth it. Let's go check that out, right, Mabel? Mabel's never going to pass up the chance to get out of the car anyway. So there's the road I just came down. It's all gravel here, but a little ways down the road there, it actually just kind of devolved into 2 dirt tracks. So that was kind of fun. Not exactly the best vehicle for exploring, but the Kia does pretty damn good. And here's that little bridge. And in true rural fashion, the sign's got to have some shotgun blasts in it. Very typical little pony truss bridge. We see a lot of these out on the prairies crossing these little creeks and waterways, so I always like them. It's funny when hunting for geocaches in places like this, I always get a little nervous about what I'm gonna find under the bridges. And here I'm not finding anything, including the cache yet. Taking a little time away from the cache hunt, I just had to come check out the plaque on the bridge here. The Dominion Bridge Company of Calgary, 1949. They were responsible for the building and the steel in many, many bridges around this area. I guess I should have read the previous logs a little bit better. The last 2 or 3 finders of it basically said they didn't find the cache container, but just the lid of it, and that it looks like it may have been washed away. So I'm going to call it a DNF because I don't really think finding the lid is finding the cache, and Plus, I didn't even find the lid. It could be anywhere by now. So I'm going to call this a DNF, but it wasn't a waste of a stop or of a detour, because this is a very peaceful place to just enjoy the Alberta countryside. And as you can tell, Mabel and I are certainly getting a lot of dust on the back of the Kia. Road closed. I don't think that was much of a road to begin with. And here's another Pony Truss Bridge. I don't see a builder's plaque on this one, but probably dates to the same era. Had passed another bridge that I didn't bother filming that was also Dominion Bridge Company 1949. So like I said, I'm assuming they're all kind of that same era out in this place. Swalwell Fish Dam, next left. I swore there was a campground here, but I'm not really seeing much at this point. Lake has still got some ice on it. Oh yeah, there are some spots here. These appear to be numbered, so that would imply to me these are campsites. Frankly, I am really surprised that there isn't anyone here, given how many of the provincial park campgrounds haven't opened yet, and how good the weather has been, and the demand for campground sites at private campgrounds. Oh, there's a sign there that says something about maybe why there's nobody here. Let's back up and take a look. Okay, no, I thought it was something, but it just, well, it is something, but it's not what I thought it was. Basically, the sign's just saying that the self-registration is closed and everything is now bookable online. Now, I can certainly understand this is not everyone's idea of a fun little campsite. You know, there's not really much around here unless you're into exploring the countryside like we are. There's no playground, no amenities for the kids, just fishing, and with the lake being mostly frozen, that's probably not happening much right now. So I'm just surprised there wasn't even a single camper there, but that's the Swalwell campground. Let's carry on to the town. Lots of occupied homes in Swalwell, so not a classic ghost town by any means, but I always come through here for one main reason, and that is this water tank over here that I'm about to show you. And there it is, Swalwell, home of the mud hens. I've always just loved that, the swinging chicken there, or the chicken with a bat. In fact, I think I like that so much that I'll probably make that my my pick for Sign Sunday on Instagram. the.real.DanOCan, if you're not already following along there. I post a lot of stuff, not always from current trips, but from past trips over the last, 15, 20 years, different things. So follow along. Join me, shall you? No, sorry, that's Adam Lou. I can't use that. So yeah, feel free to follow on Instagram and see if there's anything there that you like. I knew I had heard a train horn off in the distance along most of this route. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume this is probably that train that I've been heard here, just north of Swalwell. Looks like a load of grain hoppers. We are in Canadian National or CN territory here, which is kind of nice. Around home, the track through Cochrane is all CP or Canadian Pacific, so we see their trains a lot. So even though the CN tracks aren't very far away, it still seems like a bit of a novelty to actually get to see a CN train. And the track must make a really neat little loop here, given how these cars are kind of off into the distance and then coming back in. Assuming that's all the same train anyway. Okay, well, according to the map, we have reached Twinning, Alberta. And if you're starting to notice a trend with some of these places on the map, I don't blame you, because here again, there is really nothing to indicate any sort of a settlement. I think a lot of these places were, designated on the map and never really became incorporated communities or anything, but I'm still having fun exploring the back roads anyway, because we never know what's going to be around the next corner. Off to the next place. Okay, that was very good timing. I had just finished saying about how you never know what's going to be around the next corner. I came up over a rise and stumbled across this. Now this clearly says that it's a community hall, but it has all the makings of the classic one-room prairie schoolhouse. Obviously with that newer addition on the left side of the image there, but that definitely looks like a former school. I would love to get in closer, but the size of this chain and this padlock really indicates that they don't want people at least driving in there. There is a big gap right here where it'd be very easy to walk in, but I can see pretty much everything I need to see right from here. So I'm declaring this a former school converted to a community hall, as was very common with these buildings. They often got repurposed as churches, community halls, private homes. They're still out there. They're just getting harder to find. Okay, it is hard to see over my shoulder because there's a bit of a little rise in the land there, but that's the community of Three Hills. Very different from everywhere else we've been visiting today, because Three Hills has a lot of population. It's probably one of the bigger towns in the area. I'm going to estimate, without looking, 3,000 people probably live there. So it's, like I said, different from where we've been, but I wanted to show you something before we head further that way. Unlike some communities in Alberta that are misnamed, like Milk River, I've been there. The river actually is water, not milk. 7 persons. I think there's more than 7 people there, but the town of Three Hills, 1, 2, and 3. Let's see if I can point to them here. 1, and you probably can't see that. Where am I? 2, and 3 is right there. So yes, the community of Three Hills, there are actually 3 hills here. Mabel's having a good time. All right, well, it is time to get back on the road. We're going to head into Three Hills, maybe grab something at A&W, get a bite to eat. It's after lunch now here. I'm starting to get hungry, so heading into Three Hills, and I think there's a grain elevator there too that we should get a picture of while we're in town. Okay, so as is normal for Mabel and I, we made another detour on our way into Three Hills. There's a geocache here called the Ellis Mine Shaft, and it supposedly is at the location of a mine shaft that was dug here, I believe, in the early 1900s. So I don't know if there's actually going to be anything to see there or a historical marker or something, but I figured it sounds interesting. Let's go take a look. It's just 100 meters over there. So we're just on the outskirts of Three Hills. Not exactly the garden spot of town, but I had to take the chance to try and see what's here, if anything. Okay, well, I apologize as usual for the wind. Not much in the way of a spoiler here. The cache is right there underneath that piece of wood. I'm not sure. I mean, there's this mound over here that may be the remnants of some kind of mine. I wish I had DanOCan fixed so I could put it up in the air and see what it looks like from the air. But yeah, the Ellis mine shaft geocache. And we still have to go see that grain elevator, which you can kind of see in the distance over there, and then get a bite to eat. I actually forgot that there's not just one, but two grain elevators here in Three Hills, and they're in a somewhat unique configuration in that the train track actually runs right down the middle between the two of them. Usually you'll see train tracks run or all on one side, or all the elevators will be on one side of the train tracks, but here they run through the middle. So Three Hills, very cool. Two elevators and Three Hills, living up to its name. You can hear Mabel drinking back there. She's enjoying a cup of water I got for her at the A&W drive-thru. And I got myself, of course, if you're going to A&W, I had to get myself a root beer. And if you just give me a sec. Oh my God, that tastes good. We've been on the road almost 5 hours now, and this is really the first thing we've stopped to eat or drink yet. I was just doing a little calculation, and it's about an hour back to work where I have to pick up Emily at 5. So I've got about 3 hours before I need to be there. So I'm going to head up to Rumsey. There's a series of caches there in a linear park, which is basically now public access to a previously abandoned rail bed, and I want to hit a few of those. That's about half hour away, so I'm going to hot foot it that direction and get there. That'll give Mabel and I about an hour to check that out, and then it'll be time to get on the road to go get Emily from work. So let's do that now. So our route out to Rumsey took us through the town of Trochu, and naturally I had to stop and take a picture of the grain elevator here. One of my rules is always stop and take a photo when the opportunity presents itself, because you never know when the thing you're looking at might disappear forever. So quick stop in Trochu, back on the road. Okay, as promised, and as was the goal somewhat when I started this day almost 5.5 hours ago, I am at the linear park. They're calling this the Natural Linear Park in Rumsey. So even though this is the gate there makes it look like you can drive in there, I'm pretty sure that's not the intent. This is the old rail bed that ran from Rumsey to Rowley and points south. We are going to walk in there and find a geocache, and then it'll be about time to turn around and head back. Now, we have done some of this series of caches south of Rowley, but this is the first time coming to this place, or this portion of the park. And as I suspected, no unauthorized motor vehicles. So not only could I not drive the Kia down here even if I wanted, I couldn't even bring a quad or something down here. So this is strictly a walk-in park. And this is kind of what I've been promising Mabel all day today, was that she would get some time here to do some exploring as well. She spent a lot of time in the back seat of the car checking things out. So it's nice Mabel gets a walk in too. And I know I can certainly use the walk myself. If I look way down there, couple Canada geese in the middle of the path, so hopefully they don't cause us any problems and we don't cause any problems for them. Okay, I should have brought my gimbal today, but I didn't actually plan on making a video today. It just kind of happened, as is not unusual for me. There we go. The geese have decided to vacate our path, probably trying to lure us away from a path or from a nest with some young ones or something, but we won't disturb them, they won't disturb us. Okay, that took a fair amount of time, but right down at the base of that tree is the geocache I was hunting. Come in, you can see it tucked down in the grass there. There we go. Now, like I said, that's probably about as far as I'm going to have a chance to go today. Apparently there is another cache, according to my cell phone, right back up where I parked, but for some reason it didn't appear on my handheld GPS. So I'm going to take a look for that as we head back. Just checking on Mabel there, she's coming along. So I'm going to check on that as we make our way back to the car, and then it's going to be time to hotfoot it back towards Calgary and go pick up Emily. Mabel's being very difficult with so much wildlife around here and waterfowl. There's a lot of goose crap all over the path, and she thinks it's like a buffet and is just loving it. It's like, come on girl, we gotta go. Back at the parking area. There's the last one of the day for me, likely, down in the corner there. So we got her. We'll have to come back here sometime when we have more time. Maybe bring the bikes. This would be a great biking path. Rail lines make fantastic bike trails because they're usually relatively flat, which for fat guys like me, that's our kind of biking. I don't want any hills. But for now, I am going to use this method of transportation, and Mabel and I are going to hit the road and get ourselves back to Calgary to pick up Emily. I have really enjoyed bringing you along on this trip. I know my road trips are never as much fun when my road trip partner has to work, and it's unfortunate that that's going to be the case every second weekend or so throughout the summer months, but we'll make the best of it. I don't know if this will be an official series or not, but I intend to take these Saturdays and weekends when Emily has to work and get out, do some exploring, and try and take advantage of it as best I can. So from Mabel and I, thank you very much for watching. This is DanOCan signing off.